Hello there. I just wanted to make a video today about the subject of progress, um, which is an interesting concept, which has obviously been really well, it's been picked up and people have run with it for, you know, a long time in various ways. Some of them um, more successful than others, some of them more understandable than others, you know. Um, I mean, when you think about it, the idea of progress is a very natural one for people to gravitate towards. The idea that your life progresses, um, and from that, the idea that maybe human life itself can progress, like you'd want your community to progress, and so why not the entire human race to progress? Why not things to just get better? Um, And that's a very natural thing for people to gravitate towards. Um, the the problem for me is when things become combined with politics to make them very ideological, and then we have this sense that there is an inevitable road of progress, uh, which will extend into some sort of a glorious future if only we could get to it. But also that it's entirely natural for human beings to simply go by stages, um, in a relatively straight line towards an end goal. Now, the question is this realistic? Um, it's I think you can see that it's a sort of in some ways it's the sort of uh, political idea that would arise from Christian society in some ways, because Christian society has this sense of progressing towards an ultimate end. Um, However, when you look at human history, do you really see um, progress towards, you know, an end goal? Well, from the point of view of one perspective, from the point of view of your own society, when it's doing well, it would look like that, because people tend to think that, well, everything led here, and and we're doing better than we used to, and so that's the natural way of things. Um, but you can see civilization after civilization goes through a rise and fall. Everyone rises, everyone falls. Everyone gets so far, and then everything collapses, at a certain point for every civilization, um, while human life continues. And if you look in evolutionary terms, which again seems to be a very clear uh, example of progressive development, but evolution has dead ends as well. It has things that were getting on very, very well and then just got wiped out. Um, so it's one of those ideas which, if you look at it naturally or empirically, it seems to be both things to be to it, which are verifiable and things which are fanciful. Um, um, I think in our own society, the way it's developed, and by our own society, I mean what we term the West, yeah, which is basically kind of Christian and post-Christian society. Uh, uh, Europe, the Americas, Australia, what have you, yeah. Um, if you look at our society and culture, there has arisen. I mean, I think especially since the Enlightenment, this sense of an onward march, and towards progress, and the progress is something which is made, and something which should not be lost. Obviously, we would feel that if we're happy with where things are. Um, that's the sort of thing that we would feel. Uh, but is it really true? Are all the things which develop actually progress? Is modernity progress simply because it's more modern? Is the latest thing an improvement? You know, those are questions which people have to actually ask themselves, and then decide if there's anything they can do about them, because we have such a kind of like an automated sleepwalking tendency culturally after a while, you know, something which takes so much creativity and and inventiveness to actually feed it constantly, and yet it in itself has this kind of like lumbering, self-perpetuating quality to it at the same time. Uh, it feels to me at present as if we are going through a real testing time. Um, and over the last few years, we have actually seen what is the actual death of the 20th century. And we don't really know what's happening yet. We don't know what's coming. A lot of things seem very, very concerning in terms of human freedom and in terms of where we might be going and what we might be turning ourselves into. Um, and I think the sense of progress that we had um, for many, many people, it's actually falling apart. It appears more and more dubious, more and more at best ambiguous. Um, and for quite a lot of people, the amount of dysfunction that modernity brings with it um, uh, belies any sense of actual, really deep progress. So, this is another thing um, to concern. We have to ask ourselves, you know, what are we as human beings? What is it that gives us good lives? What is it that gives us the quality to our lives? What sort of lives do we want to lead? What sort of human beings do we want to be? Um, and the answer to that, I think, is that we're a lot more complex than any amount of ideologues like to admit, you know. And one of the unfortunate things is that the more utopian a person's ideology is, the less insight they seem to have into human nature, to be truthful. And the more alienated they seem to become from the sense of nature as something with an inherent good to it, you know, unless they use it as a sort of poster for whatever they want to achieve, you know, save the planet, protect nature, blah blah blah. But it's like you do it by doing what we tell you to do, you know. Um, and another question is, where is progress going? Is progress simply going towards making forms of totalitarianism uh, more cosmetically acceptable, more improved? You know, is it the Brave New World idea? You know, so there are a lot of questions there, uh, but I think there is plenty, at least, to make people question the idea of progress, and to actually question it, and to at the very least augment it with other dimensions to human life, which we are sorely lacking in, and which are really needed to balance things. You know, because it's more than possible that everything we've built and everything that we have built in our minds as well as a view of life and its meaning and its objective, that all these things could come to absolutely nothing, and we could be back down to ground level, you know, back down to ground level. Anyway, that's my thoughts for today. Bye bye.